Good morning, dear hearts. I'm back. Yeah, surprisingly so. But lesson 71 is such a pivotal lesson that I had to make this appearance. The lesson is only God's plan for salvation will work. Now, of course, I've substituted salvation several times and will again today with words such as happiness, freedom, or forgiveness even. Only God's plan for forgiveness will work. Only God's plan for happiness or freedom will work. What this lesson is going to share with us is that God has a plan for salvation and his plan works, but the ego also has a plan. The ego's plan will not work. However, we have invested in the ego's plan completely because the ego's plan plays to our reasoning of wanting to not go within to find the solution, but to blame someone else. Someone else is the cause of my unhappiness. And as long as we're doing that, then we are placing the solution, the resolution for our happiness someplace where it will never be reached and we can never truly find it. The lesson begins that you may not realize that the ego has set up a plan for salvation in opposition to God's. It is his plan in which you believe. And you go, wow, why would I do that? Well, just as I said, because the ego's plan plays on our wanting to not be responsible. Since it is the opposite of God's, you also believe that to accept God's plan in place of the ego is to be damned. But remember, any plan that the ego has for salvation involves death. So think about it again, perhaps. This sounds preposterous, of course, yet we have considered just what the ego's plan is. After we have considered what the ego's plan is, we will realize how preposterous, how absurd that even though it is, we still believe in it. And the ego's plan for salvation centers around holding grievances, yes, and building more grief fences higher and higher around more and more objects. It maintains the ego's plan that if someone else just spoke or acted differently, some external circumstance was changed, then I would be happy. I would be saved. All would be well in my world. And thus the source for our happiness, our salvation, our freedom is constantly being perceived outside, out there, somewhere out there. Now, just for the moment, if you did yesterday's lesson, I'm sure you did, we had those wonderful lines in it, which I have used frequently through all of the many years of doing these videos, even before we got to lesson 70. But that because the lines in this tell us that if we would believe in this idea that my happiness comes from me, that it means to accept that nothing outside yourself can save you, nothing outside yourself can give you peace. It also means that nothing outside yourself can hurt you or disturb your peace or upset you in any way. So the solution to the problem is always within. As I've said many times, it is an inside job. Why would the solution for my happiness be placed somewhere where I cannot access it? That would come from a God who is cruel, and God is not. That would come from a deity who is not invested in my happiness. And God wants us to be eternally, perfectly, always happy. So if I place and believe that the solution for my salvation or my happiness is out there, I am just making it more difficult for me to find it. Going back to the lesson, it says that we say, if this is different, I would be saved. Then the change of mind necessary for salvation is thus demanded of everyone and everything except yourself. We need to become responsible for our own happiness. The role assigned to your own mind in this plan then is simple: to determine what other than itself must change if you are to be saved. According to this insane plan, any perceived source of salvation is acceptable, provided it will not work. So anything that the ego, will accept whatever the ego says, but it will not work. And this insists that although this hope has always failed, maybe next time, maybe this next time, I'll do the same thing as I've done before, trying to find my happiness, but maybe this time it will work. Again, that is the definition of insanity that Einstein has given us, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. If we accept the ego's plan for salvation, that's exactly what will happen. So that is the ego's plan for salvation. Surely you can see how it is in strict accord with the ego's basic doctrine: seek, do not find. Now, God's plan for salvation works simply because by following his direction, you seek for salvation where it is. But if you are to succeed, and God promises you will, you must be willing to seek there only. So we have to give up our attachment to all of the trinkets and the temptations from the ego. Leave those alone and seek only where the problem will be solved. Otherwise, your purpose is divided and you will attempt to follow two plans for salvation that are diametrically opposed in all ways. So this would be trying to serve two masters. And that never works now, does it? This result will only bring confusion, misery, and a deep sense of failure and despair by trying to split ourselves in two. How can we escape all of that? Simple. Only God's plan for salvation will work, and there can be no real conflict about this because there is no possible alternative to God's plan. What is all-encompassing can have no opposite. So his is the only plan that is certain in its outcome. This is what certainty is all about, recognizing certainty today. And his plan will succeed. The 7th paragraph has this wonderful line: all things are possible to God. I often expand that all things are possible with God, and certainly all things are possible through God. Salvation must be yours because of his plan, which cannot fail. It is a guarantee. It is certain. So we have the 2 longer practice periods, the 10 to 15 minutes, okay? And let me go back a minute. 2 longer practice periods for today. By thinking about today's ideas, start by doing that and realizing that it contains 2 parts. God's plan for your salvation will work and other plans will not. So don't be upset with the second part. Have the confidence in the first part. God's plan will work. Do not allow yourself to become depressed or angry at the second part. It is inherent in the first. The first part, God's plan will work. And in the first is your full release from all your own insane attempts and mad proposals to free yourself. They have led to depression and anger, but God's plan will succeed and it will result in release and joy. Now come those questions. Okay, remembering that we will have release and joy. Remembering this, devote the remainder of the extended 10 to 15 minutes by asking God to reveal his plan to you. Ask him very specifically, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom? And I'm sure most of you know those questions. Noise upstairs. We ask these within the practice for today, but these are also 3 questions that we can hold on to and we can use anytime. It doesn't have to be with Lesson 71. It can be when you wake up in the morning, first thing you do, after you do your gratitude work. I would suggest that. And then ask these questions. What would you have me do? What would you have me do today, Father? Where would you have me go today, Father? What would you have me say, and to whom? And that will be leading you to your happiness, your freedom, your salvation for the day. And give God full charge of the rest of the practice period and let him tell you what needs to be done by you in his plan for your happiness, for your salvation. He will answer in proportion to your willingness to hear his voice. Remember 49. Lesson 49, God's voice speaks to me all through the day. Refuse not to hear, which is a little double negative there, but decide to hear. Decide to hear God's voice. The very fact that you are doing the exercises prove that you have some willingness, and this is enough to establish your claim to God's answer. The shorter practice periods, about 6 or 7 times an hour, okay? Simply remind yourself of the lesson. And then we have 2 other lines to use, 2 prayer lines. Holding grievances is the opposite of God's plan for salvation, and only his plan will work. Release of all of the grievances that I have taken on. Try to remember that today I do not want to be an ego pleaser. Today I give myself to my Father and have him and his mighty companions, all of our mighty companions, to direct us. We have been given so much support, so much heavenly support. Let that support come to us. Let us listen. Let us use it. That's why we will know that God's plan for salvation, for our happiness, for our freedom will always work. And that's it for today. That was fun for me. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helped. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please comment. And YouTube only gives credit. Let's say that if I do new videos. The old ones it doesn't care about. So please share this new one, and I'll pop in again, probably in the not too distant future. I miss you all. I love you all. Thank you all for all of your support and all of your confidence. And please remember to smile. Please remember to pray, and please remember to breathe. Namaste.